Okay, using the help system. As we have discussed in the beginning, PowerShell, if you want to start using PowerShell, there are three things. If you understand those three things, actually four, but three are related to command, fourth one is concept. So first command that we have seen is get command. Now we are going to see the second important aspect of it. After finding a command, because PowerShell is all about running commands, right? If you don't know commands, what will you do with PowerShell? There is no GUI, there are no icons, no application windows, anything. It entirely depends on running commands. So after finding the command, now it's time to understand the syntax of that command. For that we can make use of help system. So in this topic we will talk about how to find the help topics, how to interpret the help syntax, like various symbols which are involved when you take a look at the help for a command. Then we will talk about how to make use of these help parameters like full window, full show window, online, and example. How to see the examples of any commandlets, how to run that. Then we will talk about underscore topics, which are the conceptual topics in PowerShell. PowerShell help not only consist of the help related to the command and their syntax, it also has the documentation for various concepts which are available in PowerShell. Like if you want to understand the meaning of a while loop, what is for loop, what are arrays, what are the comparison operators, or various concepts related to PowerShell, what are workflows, and all those things which are related to PowerShell, you will find very helpful and detailed help for everything which is related to PowerShell, and you don't need to go to Google or any other search engine for getting more details or learning more about PowerShell. But before you start using help, it is mandatory for you to update the help topics. We will see how to update the help topics and why it is required. And for updating the help topics, usually internet is required. So we will see how, without having a direct internet connection, how you can update the help offline mode. So let's begin with finding the help topics. So any PowerShell command that you run, once you find the command, next step is to find the help for that command. The command for getting help is get help, as you can easily guess. Get help and give the name of the command for which you are looking for the help. For example, I want to know how I can make use of get service command. Because if you just give this command get service without any parameters, it gives you details about all the services which are available on this computer. But there are multiple ways this command can be used. You can use this command for searching for one or more services by their display name, by giving the service controller object as input using input object, and also by using the name of the services. Name and display name, these are two different things. It's not necessary that the service name and display name will be same. In few cases it will be same, in few cases it will be different. So when you look at the help for any commandlet, you will see in some cases it will show you multiple syntaxes. So when you run this command get help followed by the name of the command for which you are looking for help, first it will show you the name of the commandlet. Synopsis means the short description, what that command does. This is important part. Now you might be wondering why there are three syntax is given here. If you look closely, each of these syntaxes has at least one thing which is not present in other syntax. So each of these syntaxes is called a parameter set, because this is the command, this is the parameter, and this is the value that goes for this parameter. Now in the syntax, as you see here, in first syntax, whatever parameters which are combined here are the parameters which can be used together. For example, for searching for a service name or for searching for a service, you can provide the display name as input and a computer name from which you want to find the details about that service. So suppose you are given computer name IT Pogo and display name of the service as background intelligent transfer service. So it will show you the status of background intelligent transfer service from IT Pogo, which might be a remote computer. Or when you are searching for that service from a local computer, you don't need to give hyphen computer name. By default, it will show you the details from the local computer. So far so good. Okay. Now, if you look at the second set and third set, you will find that name is something which is available only in the third set. It is not available in the first or second set. So this name parameter is making this parameter set unique out of these three, because name is not there in second and first. Similarly, input object is there in second and it is not available in first and third. And at last, display name is available in the first one but not in the second and third one. Now one thing that you need to remember, display name can be used with computer name, it can be used with exclude, include, required services, these parameters, because at least in one set these things go together. You can use input object. Okay, I got a message from Sai Chandra. What is the issue, Sai? Is that a question? Do you have any doubt regarding this? Yeah, tell me. No, you don't have to buy at this. It is we are looking at the help for a command and we are trying to understand how this command can be used. So there are three ways this command can be used. So there is nothing that you need to buy at. It, yeah. See, I'm yet to reach that point regarding the help update. It will happen. I will explain. Okay. So any questions regarding the parameter sets? Now, what I was saying was, since none of these three sets has name and display name together, you cannot mix and match the parameter that does not belong to the same set. That means if you are using display name, you cannot use name at the same time. What will happen if I do that? Get hyphen service hyphen display name background intelligent transfer service, which is the name of the bit service. It is the display name of the bit service. Now Along with display name, if I try to give hyphen name, first of all, it will not show in the IntelliSense. That is the first clue that you will get that something is fishy, something is wrong here. Why it is not displaying the name parameter? Because name parameter cannot go with display name parameter. But let's try to forcefully use it. It will result into an error saying parameter set cannot be resolved using specified name parameter. Now PowerShell is not able to determine whether you are trying to use display name parameter set or the name parameter set, because these are two different sets, right? This is one names parameter set, this is display name parameter set. There is one more input object parameter set. So you cannot mix the parameters which does not belong to the same set. Any questions regarding this? Everyone is clear about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this get service command can be used in these three
Yes. Yes.
it is a standard.
Yeah.
We don't have any combinations.
Yes. These are the only valid combinations. You got it correct.
Okay.
Okay. Ravi, you have dropped. You're still not able to join. Are you still there? Okay, I think I have to send link to Ravi. 1 second. Okay, this seems there is another person, Rakesh. Okay, sorry team. There was I was confused with Ravi. There is one more person, Rakesh. He was pinging me on WhatsApp. I think he was willing to join this. Any other questions regarding parameter sets, team? Okay, if not, let's move to the next. Interpreting the syntax symbols. So here, whenever you look at any syntax, you will find lot of symbols here, these special characters, square bracket. So anything which is given inside a square bracket, that is optional. It is not mandatory to use computer name while running this command. Similarly, if you look at the third syntax, this entire thing is inside a square bracket, but name is inside another square bracket. That means you can directly give the name of the service without giving hyphen name. What does that mean? You can use get hyphen service. When you use name parameter, again this is not mandatory as we have seen in the syntax to give the name of the service. Even if you don't give name, you can directly give get service and the command will successfully run. But when I give get service hyphen name and bits, it will give me the details about only one service. Now if you look at the syntax, you will find that this name is given inside a square bracket, right? Now when you see some parameter name, not the value. This is the value for the parameter and this is the name of the parameter. So since hyphen name is inside square brackets, you can use the name of the service directly without using hyphen name. This is called a positional parameter. The value for this parameter is read from position number 1. From the first position, whatever is the value given, it will be considered as the value for the name parameter. This is called positional parameter. So as you can see in this syntax, everything is inside square bracket. That means you can run this command without using any parameter. But when you look at hyphen computer name is not inside square brackets. So that means if you want to provide the computer name, you cannot directly just provide the computer name and PowerShell will understand that this is the value for the computer name. No, it will not work. You have to give hyphen computer name followed by its value, like this, computer name IT Pogo. Then only it will work. You cannot skip giving hyphen computer name. You must provide the value for computer name. Okay, now next symbol, angular brackets. Anything that is given inside angular brackets that talks about the data type, means what type of value should be provided for that parameter, and this angular brackets will always be followed by a parameter name. So parameter name, after that anything which is given inside angular bracket, that means for computer name you have to provide a string. Now what is a string in programming? String means text. So obviously the value for computer name will be a text value, right? There will not be a number. So if you look at some other example, get hyphen help get WMI object. So for this command, when you look at, there is something called as throttle limit that requires int 32. So inside the angular brackets, the value is given as 32-bit integer. That means for throttle limit you cannot provide a text value, you have to provide the number value. Now here hyphen class is a positional parameter because that parameter name itself is inside a square bracket. But observe closely, here string is not inside any outer square bracket. Though hyphen class is inside square bracket, but the value for the class is not inside the square bracket. What does that mean? If I run this command get hyphen WMI object, if I don't pass any parameter, value for the class is mandatory because this is not in square brackets. So if you don't provide the value for the class, it will ask you for the value. And this command will continue only when you provide the value. Whenever you see something like this, this is the parameter which requires a value. So you have to provide the value for the class win32_bios. Now we are not going to discuss in detail about WMI objects as of now. We are just looking at the examples of a mandatory parameter and optional parameters. We will discuss later in detail about how to find all the classes which are available for this command get WMI object. That we will discuss later. That's a big discussion. So here either you can give hyphen class followed by win32_bios, or since hyphen class, this parameter name is not required because it is given inside square brackets. This is a positional parameter and you can directly give the name of the class. Any questions, team? Everyone is clear about this? Okay. Let's move to the next topic. So we have seen square brackets, angular brackets. Now there is some places where you see this string is followed by, and yeah, Kiran, tell me. Yeah. Yeah. See, hyphen computer name is not in square bracket, but if you look at this entire this thing like hyphen computer name and its value, this entire thing inside is inside square brackets. Even if you look at this, though hyphen computer name is not in a separate square bracket like this, but this entire thing is inside a square bracket, right? That means it is completely optional. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, that's what I have explained in this example here. See here. I can use get service and directly see earlier when I have used get service hyphen name and bits, it worked without any errors, right? Then I did not give hyphen name, I directly give the name of the service, right? Because hyphen name is inside square brackets, I can skip it. But if I want to get the details of this service from a remote computer, so I have to use hyphen computer name followed by the name of the computer. Here I cannot use it like this. Let me show you what do I mean. I cannot use like get hyphen service bits and computer name IT Pogo. This will not work. It is mandatory for you to give hyphen computer name, then only you can provide the name of the computer.
Okay, you need to say that if any command which is not on external two brackets, and after two brackets, you find another command which is not in the another two brackets, that is optional, right?
Yes.
So any command which is not in two brackets, and that is a command which is not in two brackets, that is a mandatory.
See, what do you mean by mandatory?
I mean to say that hyphen computer name to get service. Without mentioning that, you know what is not
Okay, let me tell you here when we say mandatory, what is the meaning of mandatory? What is the meaning of mandatory in terms of PowerShell is, if I say hyphen computer name is mandatory, that means this should not work, right? This, but when I say computer name is not mandatory, that means I can run this command without using hyphen computer name and the name of the computer, right? That is what I mean. But when I try the same thing with get WMI object, here hyphen class name is mandatory. Giving the name of the class is mandatory. You can either directly give the name of the class or use hyphen class and then the name of the class. But since the value of this parameter is not in square brackets, there is no external square bracket here, right? This string and class, this does not go inside a outer square bracket like this, like in this syntax it is there. So this is the default syntax where it is mandatory for you to give the class name. What will happen if you don't give the class name? It will ask you for the class name like this. That is called mandatory parameter. But that will not happen in case of computer name. If you don't provide the computer name, it will fetch it from the local computer. Got it?
Okay. So I need to say that the external brackets, if any command which is not external brackets, that is not mandatory, and if some command which is not external bracket, which is optional, right?
Yeah, see, whatever is inside square brackets, that is optional. Okay, let me show you with some examples. Here when I'm running this command get hyphen WMI object followed by hyphen class win32 underscore BIOS. So in this command, for this command, using class is mandatory. If I don't use hyphen class or if I don't provide the name of the class, one of these two things, it will ask me for the value. But let me stop this. In case of get service, if I hit enter, will it ask me for the name of the service? No, because name is not mandatory.
Right.
So when I run this command, it will run successfully without any further questions. That is the meaning of mandatory and non-mandatory in terms of interpreting the syntax. Got it?
Okay.
It's clear now?
Yeah.
Okay, that is the reason while running this command get WMI object, just by providing class name, you are successfully able to run the command. These other parameters that you see here, these are optional parameters. Even if you don't use those parameters, command will still run. But when you will use, but these parameters are there to customize the execution of this command. Suppose as a result of this command you want only specific properties from that WMI object. That time you will use hyphen property. When you want to use a different authentication mechanism, that time you will use hyphen authentication. When you are connecting to a remote computer, if you want to use some other credentials, then only this hyphen credentials will be used. Otherwise, these are all optional things. Even if you don't use these things, even if you don't use these parameters, your command will run successfully. Any other questions? Okay. We are left with few other symbols. Curly bracket. So when you see a parameter followed by some values given inside a curly bracket, like in this case, these values are separated by pipe symbol, right? So these values are the only valid values for this parameter. Like in case of computer name, you can give hyphen computer name and you can provide any computer name. But when you are using hyphen authentication, you have to select the authentication from this list, which is separated by a pipe symbol. You can use either the default authentication, none, connect, call, packet, packet integrity, or whatever. So let me show you the example. When you use get hyphen so in this example, when we have used get hyphen WMI object hyphen authentication level, sorry, hyphen authentication, when you use, it will ask you to select the authentication level from this list. The moment you give space, it will show you the valid values for the authentication parameter. So authentication can only be one of these. Like if you go with the default one. But if you give something other than this, like Kerberos, so it will give you error. Cannot convert value to this authentication level type. So wherever you see a parameter followed by some values in curly brackets separated by a pipe symbol, so for this parameter only these are the allowed values. Got it? And also there are certain parameters which are not having any data type. Like for property you have to provide the string, for class you have to provide the string, but for amended you don't have to provide any value. For as job you don't have to provide any value. These are called switch parameters. Let me show you an example of a switch parameter. Get hyphen process, pipe it to sort object, and I will use the property name as CPU, so that I want to sort the processes running on this computer based on their CPU consumption. So when I hit enter, it will show me this is the CPU column. It will show me all the processes where the CPU is sorted based on the CPU consumption. Here it will sort from lowest to highest. If you scroll up, this is the lowest one, and it is sorted from lowest to highest, right? Now what if I want to sort it in reverse order? So you can use this switch parameter called hyphen descending. When you use hyphen descending, it will sort it in reverse order. Now the CPU highest ones are coming on top, lowest ones are coming in the bottom. That is because I am using this switch parameter called descending. There is no parameter called hyphen ascending. There is no parameter called hyphen ascending. No. The absence of descending means ascending. That is called a switch parameter. Any questions? Which box? Okay. Which one? Yeah. So yeah, I was explaining and somebody asked any question, I forgot. Yeah. Okay. So wherever you see a parameter is having the data type followed by an empty square bracket, that means for this parameter you can provide multiple values separated by comma. This is the symbol of an array. Array means multiple values. And in PowerShell, for providing multiple values, you can pass those values by comma. Now suppose you want the details about a WMI object from multiple remote computers. So if you look at the computer name parameter here, it has a string array. Input type is string array. That means you can pass multiple computer names separated by comma. Got it? Let me show you the example. So here, get WMI object hyphen computer name itpogo comma localhost. I am providing two computer names. If I want, I can provide one more. Again, I will repeat because I am having only one computer. It will show you three results. Because these three results are from the same computer, results are same. But this is how you can pass multiple values for a parameter, where the parameter data type is followed by an empty square bracket. I think we have covered all the symbols. Nothing is left. Okay, that is how you can interpret the syntax. You can watch this video once again and let me know if you have any doubts regarding interpretation of the syntax. Hmm? Yeah. This one? Scroll up. This is called empty square bracket. You don't need to use multiple values. You can use multiple values. It is up to you whether you want to use multiple or single value. It is up to you. But wherever you see a empty square bracket, that means you can use multiple values. It is not mandatory that you should use multiple values. If you want, you can use multiple values. Otherwise, you can use one single value also. Got it? Yeah. Okay, now let's take a look at help in full. So alias for get help is help in PowerShell. So you can use help get hyphen WMI object hyphen full. Now this will show you the full version of this help. Earlier it was showing a brief version of the help. Now when you look at the full version, it will be very huge. You have to scroll a lot and I will show you what new things are there. Apart from synopsis, syntax which was already there, it will show you the long description of the command. And whatever parameters you have seen here, for every single parameter, it will give you the details. What that parameter is used for. What is the meaning of amend parameter? Amended. This one. Now it will give the description. What is the meaning of amended parameter? What is the meaning of as job parameter? What is the meaning of authentication parameter? And it is showing you all different labels, like here what is the meaning of none, connect, call, packet integrity and all. So it will give you explanation of all the parameters and in some cases whatever values are there for the parameters. Apart from this, I told you, right, there are certain parameters which are mandatory, certain parameters which are not mandatory. So here under the parameters, when you look at the details about that parameter, it shows you whether it is a mandatory parameter. Required means mandatory. If it is saying required is equal to true, that means this is a mandatory parameter, but here required is false. Now if you go and check the class parameter, required is true. And we have also seen the positional parameters, where you can skip the name of the parameter and directly give the value. So here it will tell you what is the position for that parameter. 0 means 1, because index here starts with 0. It will start with 0, 1, 2, 3 and all. So class parameter is a positional parameter. It will accept the value from the first place. Then is there any default value if you don't provide any value? No, there is no default value for the class parameter. Now what is the meaning of accept pipeline input? Means if this command, this parameter in the command can accept the value for this parameter as a result of the previous command in the pipeline. Like we have seen here few examples when we have used sort command in the previous example. So for sort, whatever is the output of get process, it was able to sort it, right? Similarly, for class parameter, it indicates here whether it can get the name of the class as a result of a previous command. No, it cannot. You cannot pass the value for the class by running some command, and the result of that command cannot be taken as input for the class parameter. But in case of service, when you look at get hyphen service hyphen help get service, it should be get service hyphen full. So if you look at the name parameter, it says accept pipeline input is equal to true. In case of input object also, it says accept pipeline input is equal to true. That means the result of any previous command, if it is producing the list of service names, it will automatically be taken as input by the name parameter. We will discuss about this later in detail when we will discuss about the pipeline. This is a big discussion. So for now, just remember, if the command parameter says accept pipeline input as true, that can read the input from the previous command. Now accept wildcard characters means there are certain wildcard characters, if you can use those wildcard characters when you are searching for the name of the service. So here it is false. So that's all about the parameters. Apart from that, it will give you what is the input types which are required by this command, if this command accepts an input from the previous command in the pipeline, and what type of output will be generated when you run this command. So we will again discuss about this during the discussion of pipeline. Then it will give you some reference links and some notes. Also, when you use hyphen full, it will show you examples. There will be multiple examples available for each command. You can refer to these examples. If you want to explore multiple ways this command can be used. So apart from full, there is one more way you can look at the help. Yeah. Position. Yeah, okay. So you remember when we ran this command get wmi object, and we have given win32 underscore bios as the name of the class. But here while doing that we did not specify hyphen class and then name, right? If you provide it or if you don't provide hyphen class, it will still work, because hyphen class, if you look at the help description of this parameter, the position is 0. That means this is position 0.
Okay, so position is it's a position something.
Yeah, so you can skip using the name of the parameter if it is a positional parameter. There is one more positional parameter here called hyphen property. If you look at the details about hyphen property, see here, it's position 1. After 0, 1 means second position, 0 is first position, right? So you can directly give which properties you want to see from the command. Like, I don't want to see anything else, I just want to see the manufacturer, so I will give manufacturer. And because property is the parameter which can accept multiple values, suppose I want the manufacturer and serial number, so I can give manufacturer comma serial number. So this is one set, this is first set, this is second set. So this second set is the input for hyphen property, because hyphen property is the parameter which takes the values from the second position, right? We have seen that in the help. And class is the parameter which picks the values from the first position, that is position 0. This takes from position 1, that is second position. It still works, but when you go with the selected properties, it will include certain system generated properties as well. You can ignore this part. So this time it is only showing you the manufacturer and serial number. Suppose I want to see the SM BIOS version also, so I can do that by giving comma SM BIOS version. This time, if you ignore these system properties beginning with underscore underscore, manufacturer, serial number and SM BIOS. Earlier it was not showing the SM BIOS. So hyphen property is the parameter which accepts the values from the second position. That's why I am able to specify the list of properties here. Got it? Okay. Now another interesting way of looking at the help of any command is using hyphen show window. Now this is very helpful because you can resize this window to adjust the space on your screen, and here this window will always sit on top of your PowerShell window, so that while running this service related commands you can refer to the help simultaneously. Another thing is you can specify which portions of the help you want. Suppose I want to see only the synopsis and syntax, I will uncheck everything else, so it will show me only the synopsis and syntax. Then if I think I want to see examples also, I will include examples, so that while running the command I can refer to the example and type it. I can keep this window open side by side. So this happens when you use hyphen show window. Then comes hyphen online, which will take you to the latest version of this help topic directly from Microsoft Docs, docs.microsoft.com. Here it is the same help, but this is in web format. It is showing you different syntaxes, all different syntaxes that we have seen there, parameter sets, examples, everything that you see there. These are required parameters, these are optional parameters, include, exclude, input, output, everything it will show you. And it will also show you some related commands. This is the online version of the help. Then comes updating the help topics. Sorry, using the about underscore topics. Now, apart from the commands, so far whatever we have seen, those are the help topics related to the commands. Now, apart from commands, there are a lot of conceptual topics available in PowerShell. Like when you use get hyphen help or just help, you can use about underscore star to show all the topics which begins with about underscore. So there are so many topics. These are kind of self-study things that you can go through. These are articles kind of. Like if you want to know about what all operators are available in PowerShell, just copy this topic name or about the history, jobs, parsing, providers, properties, anything that you want to learn about in PowerShell, use help. And this time it is better to use hyphen show window because it will be easy for you to read and refer to the topic without scrolling back and forth. So it will teach you everything about all different operators which are available in PowerShell. It will also show you uh, the comparison operators, and it will in few cases it will show you a lot of examples also. These are all different examples. So these are the topics which are not related to commands but concepts. This is just to enhance your knowledge on PowerShell. Okay. Next, updating the help with and without internet. Now, before you start using help, this is the first thing that you should do. Run command update hyphen help hyphen force. What this will do, it will update the help topics for all the commands which are available on your computer. Suppose you have installed Azure related commands, it will update the help for Azure related commands also. So how does it update the help? It will try and connect to Microsoft repository, and from there it will automatically download and install all the help topics, their corresponding CAB and XML files. And you don't need to worry about from where to download, how to install and all. This one single command will take care of everything. And this is going to be a time consuming command because depending on the number of commands which are available on your computer, number of modules which are available on your computer, it will take a lot of time to connect to internet, download those files and install it on your computer. It has already started. So I will stop it because it is going to take few minutes. You can try that. Before you start using help, try to download and update help using update hyphen help. Now why we are using hyphen force? Because if you have ran this command within past 24 hours, it will not do anything. It will just check when the last update was done. Even if you did not complete the update, even if you would have cancelled it in the middle, it will exit. It will not do anything, assuming that it is already up to date. So even if you want to proceed with the updates forcefully, if you have already updated within past 24 hours but still you want to update, you will use hyphen force. Any questions?
If you have better, you can suppose applying the examples.
Which examples?
So,
So it's easy. Okay, let me show you one example about how to make use of examples. It is so easy. Just go to this show window version of the help, hide everything, just take a look at the examples. And for example, if you want to run this example, copy it and paste it here. That works. Before you do that, read what does this command do. This command displays services with the display name that includes the word network. Searching for the display name finds network related services. So you can read what that command does and then try it. Don't include this PS, C colon and all. Just include anything that begins after this greater than symbol. Like this. But before you run the command, read what it does. Otherwise, you will do something just by copying the command from the example. That might be a command for some stopping some service or something like that, or you will be in trouble. Don't ever try anything on your production environment without knowing what you're trying to do. What could be the effects of that? Okay, does that help? Okay, so let's understand how to update the help topics if you don't have a direct internet connection. What is the meaning of direct internet connection? There are most of the financial institutions which deals with the sensitive data, customer related data. They will not allow you to access internet directly from your workstations. Mostly the financial and banking companies, they won't allow. So in such environments where your computer does not have a direct internet connection, how to update the help in PowerShell, right? So for that, though your computer does not have direct internet access, there might be at least one server or some computer which has access to the internet. Maybe, for example, a file server. So assuming that I am currently on a file server, so what I will do is I will create a shared folder. Suppose here on D drive I have this shared folder. So let me just check if it is really shared. Yeah, this is the shared folder. So what I will do is I will, from the file server which has access to internet, I will download all the help topics to that shared folder. How to do that? Using save hyphen help and give the destination path as d colon backslash shared. That is the shared folder path, and use hyphen force. Otherwise, since I have recently ran the command and cancelled it, it will not download anything. Now if you go back and check that shared folder, you will find that slowly these cap files and XML files will start downloading from Microsoft. So these are the help topics which are getting downloaded from Microsoft. Starting with version 3 of PowerShell, when you install PowerShell, PowerShell will not have any help topics already available on your computer. That is done by Microsoft intentionally so that the installation will be lightweight. When you install PowerShell for the first time, it will take very little amount of space and it will be fast. because the help topics are not included as part of the installation. The first thing that you should do after installing PowerShell is to update the help. So there might be few modules for which there will be some UI culture issue. You can ignore that. One or two modules will always be there which will give you some error. So you can ignore this error. Now suppose this was done on a server. On a server, I have downloaded the help topics. Now it's time to update the help topic on my workstation. Now suppose I am back to my workstation. How do I pick the help topics from the server instead of Microsoft repository? Instead of taking it from internet, how do I read the contents of that shared folder? You can use update help -source path and give the shared folder path from that file server and use -force, so that this time it will pick the files from the shared folder, not from the internet. Now even if I disconnect internet, it will still update the help topics because it is fetching it offline from the file server. So that will automatically complete. So that's what we have completed as part of this: finding the help topics, interpreting the help syntax, making use of full show window, online and example parameters. Yep. Hmm. No, no, it will automatically overwrite. Okay. And we have discussed about the about underscore topics. In many of the future discussions or topics that we are going to cover, I will give you an assignment of going through some about underscore topics for more details. Whenever I ask you to do that, please go through those help topics. Whenever I ask, I will be asking you because I will not be covering that topic completely. There might be few points that you have to learn by yourself, because when I give you a head start, and those topics which I am not explaining, those will be easy for you to pick up. That way you will also go through this and you will have some practice. Otherwise, usually what happens, if I cover everything here, candidates will not go back and check at least once. Now, even with the recordings, I seldom see that in the next class, if I ask somebody if anybody went through the recording in the past week, I seldom see that somebody has gone through the recordings. So it is for your benefit. Whenever we finish the session, I will, at max I will upload it. Usually I upload it immediately after the session, but due to some or the other reason, if I'm not able to upload, at max I will upload it within one day. So always go through the session recordings and get back to me if you have any questions. So do you want to continue with the next topic, or you think this was enough for today? It will be around 45 minutes more. Okay, and regarding tomorrow's class, team, I'm sorry, but I have to give you an update tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning my family is going to come from India. So I'll be going to pick them up from airport. If I get back on time, we will have session. I will keep you posted on WhatsApp group. Okay? Otherwise, we will skip it for tomorrow. No, no. Timing is going to be same, but because I will be going to pick them tomorrow morning, and I'm not sure what will be the schedule for tomorrow after they come back. Will I be able to take out some time or not? That I'm not sure. I will assess the situation and will keep you posted. Anyways, tomorrow it is at morning 9 o'clock India time, or I think 11:30 Singapore time, right? So I will keep you posted whether this is going to happen or not. But I will let you know at least 1 hour before. Till 10:30 Singapore time or 8 o'clock morning India time, I will let you know whether we are going to have this session or not. Okay? Yeah. Thank you, team. Yeah. Just keep an eye on the WhatsApp group. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.